Right, so it's that time of year when Poa Annua, which is just a type of weedgrass, tries to take hold in our lawns. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks, next couple of months really, to try and eradicate this problem. Although I have just used the word eradicate, getting rid of these weed plants altogether is almost impossible to do. However, keeping on top of the problem is really straightforward. Now, I imagine that most people who have clicked on this video are familiar with this plant, but if you don't, you can see here that Poa Annua, this type of weedgrass plant, can be really unsightly in your lawn, and it creates all of these seed heads. And what these seeds will eventually do is obviously drop down into your soil, and given the chance, they will germinate. These are opportunistic plants. If you give them any space whatsoever, that might be through scarifying, verticutting, or even removing the existing adult plants that you already have in your lawn, it opens up that soil then to new plants germinating. But hopefully today's video will help you to see that we can actually prevent most of this from happening. The annoying thing about a weed like Poa Annua is that you can't just chuck a little bit of weeds all down and let that do the work for you. You are going to have to remove them by hand. And all I do to keep on top of these weeds through the summer is just to do a weekly sweep of the lawn. You're never going to get every single plant out. There's always going to be weedgrass seeds knocking about in your soil, but the more of them you can remove, the better. The best way to do that is just little and often. So coming out every single week, just for maybe 5-10 minutes, depending on the size of your lawn, and just removing the weedgrass plants that you have. For some of them, you might only get the weed heads. For others, you might get the entire plant. But what you are doing is preventing those seeds from dropping down to the soil, adding to the seeds that will already be there, regardless of how good the lawn is. So we do have a weedgrass plant right here and right here. So we've got two of them in quite close proximity to each other. You're going to help us out, Fred? Novice Fred. But you can see this plant is quite tall. And all I'm going to do is kind of use my fingers. I mean, I've just taken the seed head off there. That's absolutely fine. But to see if there are any more seed heads, because the more of the plant you can grab in one go, the easier it's going to be to remove the entire plant. If you give it a wiggle and you pull it out, it's got really, really shallow roots. So they're fairly straightforward to get rid of out of your lawn. And the fact that they do have shallow roots means that when it does come to the summer, they will struggle a little bit more, because when that top surface dries out, it means the plants are going to be starved of that water, and then your other plants, your ryegrasses, your bents, your fescues, are going to become much more dominant. But at time of recording, we've had quite a lot of wet weather, which has meant that these weedgrass plants have now started to kind of poke their ugly heads above the surface. Which means this weekly picking of the weedgrass plants is going to go a long way, just to keeping this lawn looking absolutely boss. There we go. Don't worry about all my hard work, Fred. Get some lovely stripes on the lawn. You just you just roll around on it instead. This task can become quite overwhelming if you do have quite a big area to sweep through. And if that is the case, then I'd suggest not doing it all at once. You might just want to section your lawn into different parts and actually tackle one particular area each week. And that way it's going to help you to just keep on top of things a little bit easier. However, with the size of the lawn that I've got now, and the fact that I've been doing this for a few weeks already, means that it makes it a little bit easier for us just to get around the entire lawn. But I do understand that there's people out there with gyno lawns, or lawns that are particularly, bigger than what I've got. So if that is the case, just don't do it all in one go. You'll stress yourself out. If you do get some weed seeds and some weed plants, as we always say on this channel, no one's going to die. Once these plants do mature and become perennial plants, they turn a bit of a darker shade of green, so they do tend to blend in with the sward a little bit better. Hence why I do have some on this lawn, and you can, from the angle you've got now, you can't even see where they are, and that's just because they're doing the thing. And really, when they are the same colour as everything else, you do have to sort of ask yourself, is it worth removing them? But I like to have the lawn quite uniform, hence why I remove as many as I can. Hello, mate. Hello, Fred. Hello. You're helping with the weed grasses, mate. You're helping. Come on, get your paws to good use. Banana's not going to work, Fred. Do not use toy bananas to remove them. I mean, you could do, give it a go. There are plenty of methods. This is just one that I employ. So there we go, that is literally all the wheatgrass plants that I've managed to find knocking about. And like I said towards the start of this video, I've been doing this now for a couple of weeks, so the more often you get out and just do a power sweep, it'll literally take you 5 minutes, 10 minutes every Saturday morning, every Sunday morning, just to remove what you can, and it'll keep your lawn looking absolutely boss. And one of the last things you're going to want to do when you've got any wheatgrass knocking about on your lawn is to get on with your lawnmower without the grass collector. However, because I've already done that power pick this morning, what I can now do is leave the grass collector off, because I know I've got no exposed weed heads on the top of the lawn, and that way all those grass clippings that we take off can go back down into the sward, into the soil, break down themselves and add some water, some good bacteria and nutrients back into the soil. And at the minute I'm burning in the stripes. That's helped to get rid of any of those unsightly footprints and marks that are made by darting about the lawn, removing the wheatgrass. And with this lawn up at the top, I mean, we can give it a quick sweep now, but I don't think we're going to find any wheatgrass plants knocking about, just because of how dense it currently is at the moment. I've pulled, I'd say, a small handful from this lawn across the course of the entire year really on this lawn. But I did upload a video last week talking about why we get wheatgrasses and why some lawns are more susceptible to them than others, and a lot of it does come down to what we do regardless of the grass type that we have. So if you are interested in watching that, I'll leave a link somewhere on screen now. There'll be a link in the description too. And yeah, finally, thanks for watching today's video. If you want to stick around and follow along with any more basic lawn care content, we're on a crusade to sort of keep lawn care as simple as we possibly can at the moment. So if that does sound like something you're into, then consider subscribing if you haven't already. Give the video a like if you've enjoyed it or at least found it useful. The Instagram is Novice Gardener YT. The TikTok is Novice Gardener Official. And yeah, finally, thanks for watching.